Yeah, go on.
So as you can see, we got the Pajero back in front of us and we are putting this thing back together. Now last time we actually looked at the engine, this is what we found. Okay.
Oh, I can see something, I see two.
Ooh! Ooh! Oh boy, that is epic. Oh. And now that we're in a new workshop, this is Mr. Pajero's in Perth, and he has actually lent it to us for tonight. This is where Josh actually works.
Yep.
And we're going to be putting the brand new forged engine back into there. But first, let's do a rundown of what he's actually done to it. The engine.
Spin it around so they can see.
Ooh, spin it. So here we go, we've got the engine back together. This is not a 6G74, this is a 6G75 forged with a bunch of stuff. So Josh, first off, let's talk about the oil pump gears in this.
All right, so we've got some boundary oil pump gears, and they came from the US. They're to suit a 6G75. I'm using a brand new, genuine 6G74 pump. So I had to get the pump housing machined out to suit the new gears.
Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so even though we've got a 6G75 block, which is a 3.8 block,
yep,
you're still using a 3.5,
yep,
6G74
yep,
oil pump. What about the water pump? What are you using there?
Just a GMB Japanese unit.
Yep.
Just
cheap?
Yeah, just cheap.
And that's a 74 as well?
It's a 70, it's to suit a Pajero, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so Pajero is 74. So pretty much what we've got here is we've got the 75 crank.
Yep.
We got forged rods that Josh actually does supply, so we get to test these out.
Yep.
Pistons, what pistons actually have you got actually in this engine?
In the engine we have some Wiseco forged units.
And they're bought out to what?
95.5 mil.
The compression ratio?
Is 8.5 to 1.
8.5 to 1. So that means Josh is going to be able to use just normal petrol. He can use E85, which he will be when he wants to tickle up the boost.
Yep.
We've got a flex fuel sensor because we are going, where is it? Haltech.
Yep, we've got an Elite 2500.
I know, oh, that's going to be sick. Rolling anti-lag.
Yep, rolling anti-lag.
You've been saying it for a while and people have been asking when you're going to get to that point. He can now, he's got the engine. So this engine with everything done, it's pretty much an 800 horsepower capable engine.
Yep.
Probably a bit more realistically, but Josh is not going to be pushing it that hard yet. And he's also got a new max speeding rod turbo.
I do.
With some nice bullet gears. Actually, where is that?
It's under all the Haltechs.
Oh, okay, it's too hard to get, so you guys will just have to wait.
Yep.
But yeah, now that's it. Let's chuck it in. Something that we actually did forget to mention is what we did to the head. Now, no one wants their valves dancing on top of their bonnet, so what we've done is we put in some firmer valve springs just to keep those valves in the right place. The heads have also had the valves reseated. We've also shaved a bit off the actual head as well, just to get it nice and straight and clean. So she is ready for some boost. All right, so we're in the front of the engine, as you can see. Let's go over some basics. As you can see, we got CAS 1, CAS 2, which is crank angle sensor.
Yep.
And we got the camshaft angle sensor. Now, as you can see, Josh doesn't have adjustable timing gears at the moment. That is because this is one piece and you have to get machined. Once he gets the Haltech on there, he will probably change to the 380 cam sensor, which is on the back of the engine. And then he can get rid of this and he can put his adjustable timing gears on, which is definitely going to help because he's actually shaved the head, which does change the angles of the way they sit. And that's why you got to do it. The next thing we've got to talk about is these timing cover. If you remember episode 1, we got the angle grinder on this.
Yep.
And we chopped it up here and we have milled this down to make it look a bit better. And also, the reason why I've done it is to give him a bit more access to here when he's actually got his adjustable gears.
Yep.
So, now that's out of the way. Nice to see you've done all your bearings.
Yep, done all the bearings and the water pump, timing belt kit.
Yeah, it looks very good. So everything is new. A new adjuster as well? Tensioner?
Yep. Genuine new tensioner. And a bit cheeky with Mitsubishi is they're actually an end-to-end tensioner. Came in a genuine bag and everything. So.
Oh, how much did that cost you?
$98.
I love Mitsubishi. Anyway, now that's done, it's time to put it back together.
Yep.
And while Josh is sending those bolts home with the router gun, I get on to modifying the cam gears. Now as you can see, the cover is hitting on those 380 heads. Now you could just go coverless, but because this is a full drive that's going to be seeing the track, it's most likely going to get dust, mud and sand on the actual engine. So the simple fix is just to cut a small section out of the plastic covers. Now with the old Dremel, it's pretty easy and it only took me about 5 minutes. Got it. Look at that. Now it's time to do something a little bit more difficult, the engine mounts. And I say this because the 380 6G75 block outer casing is different to the Pajero 6G74. Meaning you're going to need to drill a 10.5mm hole into that engine block and then slap a thread into it, which can be a real pain if you have the wrong tap like I did. So let's make sure you guys get the right one. Now the tap that I should have been using is an M12 with a 1.75 pitch bottoming tap. The bottoming tap is used for holes that, well, have a bottom. The reason why we use this is so we can get more thread deeper into the actual hole. Unfortunately, I had a tapered tap, which is great for starting threads or putting a thread through a straight piece of metal, but anything else that is partially drilled out, you'll find you're going to bottom out, which is what happened to me. The solution is getting an angle grinder out and cutting off the end. It's not perfect, but it will definitely get you out of the pinch. Thankfully, it was only this one side that needed that done. On a side note, make sure when you're drilling the hole into the block that you center it with the engine casting. So just let it.
Yeah, just get down to the.
Nice. Yep. Josh wouldn't know, but they only last 10 seconds.
Emotional damage.
So as you can see, to help out with the banter and install this big block engine, we have recruited Josh's dad Paul and Mike, Josh's work wife. Now of course you could do this by yourself, but having all these extra hands makes it way easier and a heap more fun getting this engine in the right spot. So Joshy, the engine is now in!
It is in.
So what do you want to do next?
We are doing a manual conversion, so we'll probably put the new clutch line in, or an old clutch line, but a clutch line.
That's Josh's clean job, by the way.
Well, I'm probably going to get a new one because it's done 400,000.
Oh yeah, listen to the ick in that. So we're going to chuck that in. Josh has got his bow housing in so we can do the starter motor, so we can actually start this motor. But yeah, we're going to do the flywheel.
Yep.
Do the clutch.
Do the clutch line, probably hook the heater hoses up and radiator in.
So we've got to lift this car up.
We do.
Alright, let's get to it. So let's install this thrust bearing. Installing a thrust bearing on a factory Pajero flywheel is extremely easy. We are using a large socket, but anything that's circular or metal will do. Gently place the flywheel onto it and then get another socket as close to the bearing outer size as possible and then tap the bearing in until it's flush with the flywheel. Before we start slapping on the flywheel, I want to mention this part here, the shroud. Now on the Mitsubishis, these are normally the same whether you have an auto or a manual, but not always. It really does pay to check, because you don't want to be yanking off that flywheel you just finished installing over having the wrong shroud. Now surely that advice is worth a like and a subscribe. Alright Joshy, we're about to do the clutch, mate. Yeah. Now, you have chosen one of these. Why?
They're the only ceramic off-the-shelf clutches for Pajeros, and they're good value for money, I reckon.
How much do you pay?
$12.50 roughly.
$12.50?
Yeah.
Is for that, this, and getting that machine?
No, just the clutch kit that you see.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, as you can see, he's gone sprung, so this will actually be pretty drivable, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, now let's stick it in the hole, mate. Ready?
Yeah.
So while Josh is talking up those pressure plate bolts, I just want to touch base and say, if you feel like we skipped over this really quickly, it's because we just covered installing a flywheel, clutch and pressure plate on our Fast and Furious Evo that we are building. So if you want more information, please look at the link in the description and hopefully that will cover everything you want to know. Now let's talk about the Pornjero's new spoolie boy. Josh has decided to run the upgraded GT35 from max speeding rods, featuring a billet compressor wheel and a turbine that can handle some more heat. And we ain't wasting any time, slapping on the new Turbo Rooney. Unfortunately, because of the oil and water lines being hard lines, we had to take it apart, we had to fit that rear housing first, put some lines on, and then fit the rest of the turbo. But it's all worth it looking at it in its new home. So, me and Josh just got that turbo on, we bled the fuel lines, and then what we decided to do is just turn the engine over with the spark plugs out to see if we had any oil pressure, which we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Didn't have anything.
No.
No, so what we've done is we borrowed Josh's mate's scavenger pump that we got here, and we actually fed oil in, hooked up to power, and we've ran oil through the whole system and pressurized it all up.
Yep.
Making sure everything was clean and filtered. Pretty much, we got how much PSI?
We got to 11 PSI of oil pressure.
PSI of oil pressure. So Josh is now not stressing.
No, not stressing.
Because everything's lubricated, and now we need to modify the intake.
Yep, to put an intake air temp sensor on for the Haltech.
And then we can actually start this up.
We can.
We're going to start up the exhaust like this.
I think so. I need to be able to hear every little sound coming out.
We should put the screw back on, the pipe back on.
It's at home.
Oh, Josh, what are you doing?
I know.
Alright, cool. Well, yeah, man, we got a lot of work to do.
We do.
Right, so we're going to start getting into it. So let's start modifying the
let's do it.
The intake. Let's do it. So let's get to doing this manifold, and thankfully, with Josh's help, we were able to thrust this blunt and bent drill bit through the manifold, leaving a perfect hole to put our thread tap into. Now, like Josh said, we are installing an air temperature sensor, and this is an important bit of gear for your ECU. With this installed, your ECU will be able to make adjustments to the timing and fueling to keep your engine safe and running efficient on those sweaty and freezing days. As long as you got the right thread. Should we have checked that before?
Probably.
Absolutely. Boom.
Awesome.
Now a keen eye will see that we have not put a gasket on the actual lower manifold, and that is because we are installing one of these, a thermo spacer. Now this used to be pretty common practice back in the days of the carby, and the reason why they used to be installed was to stop heat transference to the carby and to help prevent vapor lock. Now in the E85 world, this isn't so much of an issue, but heat transfer still can hurt performance. And because we just installed an air temperature sensor in the manifold, I want to try to eliminate as much heat soak as possible so we don't get any false readings. Alright, so as you can see, we have the engine in. It is all done. Well, most of it's done. We have no exhaust on it.
Have no exhaust, have no radio in it, but just little things that we can do.
Have no gearbox.
We don't have a gearbox too. We're in the middle of a manual conversion, so...
This is why it's rocking so much. It's going to rock like a big V8, but
yeah,
it's just because it's got nothing attached to it.
Yeah, got nothing attached to it, but...
So, we've got the oil pressure. Hopefully that's good.
Yep.
So we're going to start up, see how it sounds.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah. And also we have to see if the starter motor actually turns itself on. If not, I'm going to use the screwdriver. So first, let's test that.
Ready? Good to go.
Whoa, whoa, you see the flames just then? Whoa! Have we got the timing right? Well, that didn't go to plan. It sounds like the timing is off, but this isn't likely unless we got a bad sensor or something obvious like two of the coils wired up wrong or maybe a lead in the wrong spot. We went over the wiring and checked for everything, and we thought, while we're in this area, let's pull a plug and see what's going on. And this was our verdict. Absolutely fucking coated in petrol. If you didn't know, that's not great. Something is definitely not right. We don't have any new plugs on us, so we decided to clean the plugs we have and disconnect the injectors, put the plugs back in, and spin the car over to burn off any unburnt fuel. that engine was. Right, you said you got to start your bastard, eh? Yeah, spray some of that down it. Okay, so we're at this point where the engine has no fuel in it. So, we are going to add a small amount of flammable liquid to see if the engine will fire over. Now normally if you see flames out of the exhaust, it can mean it's overfueling or the ignition is sparking when the exhaust valves are open. So by doing this we can test to see if the engine turns over. If it does, you know it's probably a fuel problem. If not, an ignition problem. In hindsight, we probably should have tested it with a timing light. You live and learn. Hello. Open it. Sure. If you're wondering why I keep the engine turning over, it's to make sure that I'm sucking in any of that liquid or any flames into the actual intake manifold so it can actually be choked out when the throttle body is closed. Also, if anything actually goes into the cylinder, it can be burnt off. Just one of those things where you got to be mindful this stuff can happen, and it's always handy to have a fire blanket and a fire extinguisher, which we did because we're in the workshop. Let's do that again.
Every time.
Every time. Now guys, as you can see, Josh is very emotionally upset at the moment.
Yep.
So I shot him this thing. Can you actually get it up that high?
The old trusty G-scan.
Look at that. So that's pretty much telling us all the information. And what it's telling us is it's not picking up any RPM. So we're thinking that we might have a bad crank angle sensor, possibly.
We replaced the crank angle sensor with an aftermarket one, so maybe out the box it shit itself.
It could be that the blades aren't, something's happened there.
Yeah, the blade's fallen off the back. But also, why the starter isn't throwing itself out is because the inhibitor switch thinks it's in drive, but going that we're having
you shouldn't have that, right? Because
Yeah.
you've got a manual wiring harness in now, and it still thinks it's in drive. So that's something Josh is just going to have to sit down, get a wiring diagram, and actually go through that and figure that out. You know, it might fix itself when you put the manual transmission actually in the car.
Hopefully it does.
You know, that might help.
Yeah.
With a lot of things. But no, I really do think it is the crank angle sensor because it sounded like it wasn't firing in the right order. It means it was shooting flames back through the intake manifold.
And the exhaust.
And the exhaust. I mean, that doesn't seem right. It's never done that.
Yeah.
Also, nothing. If you can hear in the background,
the fuel pump is continuously running.
Continuously.
Yep. As soon as the ignition's on, the fuel pump's on. So.
And we put some spark plugs out, and they were just like
covered in fuel.
Coated in fuel.
Yep.
So yeah. So we're gonna leave it.
Yep.
So the next time you see this car, it will have the manual transmission in. We think the plan of attack is to figure out what's wrong, get the thing started, just started, maybe bring it up to temperature on idle, and then turn it off, and then we swap straight to the Haltech.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Just if we put the Haltech in, then we're going to be chasing our tails a lot. We don't want to do it.
Yep. When we know it's running.
Yeah, be a guessing game then. And you want to see if the oil pressure comes up to about 80 psi.
Yeah, hopefully.
And nothing. So it's all pretty much bad news. We don't like ending it like this, but unfortunately, this is life.
Yep, tough shit.
It's not all fairy tales. Tough shit.
Yeah.
The poor goats. All right, I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Have a good one.
Please put likes up for Josh's car, right? Every like, it's sending positivity to him.
Yep.
Get this car running. Right, catch you on the next one.
See ya.